Welcome to the channel. For 70 years you could count on certain things to always be true about most Las Vegas casinos. And the all-you-can-eat buffet was one of them. In almost every casino you could find a buffet that offered endless plates of food that refueled gamblers quickly, so that they'd get back to the tables. But since the pandemic, there's been a rapid decline in the number of buffets in town, replaced by a variation of the shopping mall food court, the food hall. So, where have all the buffets gone? Did they leave because of the pandemic? And most important, what can people do to still get their Vegas buffet fix when they visit the city? Credit for the concept of the casino buffet is given to Belden Cattleman. Cattleman was known as a reputed associate of Bugsy Siegel, and also as the one-time owner of the El Rancho Casino. The El Rancho was known as the first strip casino, built just outside of city limits on what is now the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Sahara Avenue. The El Rancho introduced a buffet called the Buckaroo Buffet. It was simple but effective. Gamblers stayed on the property, scarfed down a low-end buffet that was loaded with mostly cold cuts and a few hot dishes. Other properties quickly picked up on how well the Buckaroo Buffet was doing and got in on the action. Properties like the Silver Slipper ran a 24-hour-a-day buffet costing 98 cents for dinner. It still had some cold cuts, but lots of mayo, lots of jello, lots of starch, and heavy foods that would fill you up fast. As the years clipped by, new and improved buffets were gaining attention. The Dunes is credited with the advent of the Champagne Brunch, a weekend hunt breakfast buffet that cost $1.50. Buffets remained little more than gambler refueling stops throughout the 60s and well into the 1980s. Many casinos ran their buffets at a financial loss, which back in the day was fine because those losses were covered by gaming revenue that dominated the income stream for most properties. The buffets were viewed as essential to keeping people on the property. But during the 80s, things began to change. Food and beverage managers and casino owners began to look at their buffets as not only potential profit centers, but as a way to add prestige to a property. Better buffets meant better customers, more affluent customers, and the potential to attract people who will spend more at the tables, in the restaurants, and on rooms. One of the first of these was the Sterling Brunch at Bally's Las Vegas. This $29.99 per person Sunday brunch offered guests champagne, lobster tails, and filet mignon on top of standard brunch items such as scrambled eggs and French toast. It was a success, drawing in large crowds of people willing to pay a considerably higher price for variety, quality, and flavor. An all-you-can-eat experience that included the lavish dishes and champagne. If you were in Vegas at any time during the 90s and the early 2000s, like I was, the gold standard for the buffet dining experience was the Carnival World Buffet at the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino. The Rio opened in 1990, but it was off-strip. It needed to get people talking and give strip visitors a reason to either leave the strip to visit the resort or book their next trip at the Rio and just stay on the property for the visit. Their all-suite concept and Carnival World Buffet were two major draws that made the Rio one of the most talked-about destinations in Vegas for over 20 years. The buffet regularly offered over 300 dishes served on culinary islands. Guests could hop from cuisine type to cuisine type. Most of the other casinos watched the success of the Rio and expanded their offerings. The 90s and the 2000s were definitely the golden age of buffets. Higher-end properties such as Bellagio, Caesars Palace, and the Wynn took the approach that diners should be given sit-down quality experiences with their buffets, of course at a higher price. Many of the dishes started at these properties eventually trickled down to lower-end resorts. Sushi, eggs benedict, oysters, prime rib, king crab, all of them eventually either became staples at buffets or are part of a theme night such as all-you-can-eat crab legs or piles of peel-and-eat shrimp. Customers were drawn to the variety and the notion that they were getting something back from the casino. A father who lost the next month's mortgage payment at the crabs table still felt a little good because he had a mountain of shrimp shells in front of him. He felt like he out-ate the casino's price for the buffet. Often, buffet meals were one of the first comp items a gambler would receive. Spend your afternoon playing blackjack and ask for a couple buffet comps. No problem. At least that's the way it used to be. So, what happened? What dune buffets as we used to know them? In 2020, when the pandemic began and Vegas closed shop for over 2 months, many people predicted that would be the end of the buffet. What they didn't know was that the end had been planned by the major casino companies before the pandemic. COVID was just the death blow. The financial reality of buffets has always been that they are loss leaders. There was a time in Vegas when executives understood the risks and benefits of operating that way. The revenue stream was dominated by gamblers, regular slot players, whales, and the once-a-year tourist types that would come into town, drop a couple thousand at the tables, and expect to get their room and meals comped. The casino would come out ahead most of the time, and that was always good enough. Then the consolidations took over. The megacorps took over. Even local casino owners found financing to build properties all over the Las Vegas Valley. This means more oversight and more bean counters willing to extract every penny from every facet of the operation. Sadly, they calculated correctly that tourists and gamblers would not put up much of a fight and would pay more and get less for their experience. They also realized that there was much more money to be made in non-gaming revenue. Non-gaming revenue is up to 70% for many strip properties. That means you could come to Vegas from back east with, say, $5,000, ready to gamble away your weekend, and they won't care because they know you'll pay a high room rate, $20 for a soda from your room's honor bar, $10 for a cup of coffee, and $50 a night for a resort fee you really don't take advantage of since you're gambling and not using the parking lot or going to the pool. Buffets never had a chance in this environment. Properties that gave up on buffets saved money by not operating them. The space is converted to a food hall. Now, don't say food court. That's for malls. It's a food hall. The employees are not needed because there's no restaurant. And the casino will never take a hit because of the cost of food prices. Now, all of this was known before COVID, but many casinos were reluctant to pull the trigger until after COVID, when they could first say it was for safety, and then say nothing as they quietly planned to just shutter buffets. It's not fair to just lay this at the feet of management. Our food tastes have changed too. People are more interested in unique and varied food items. Rather than spend $30 for a buffet lunch where they can eat all they want and have dozens of items to choose from, they're happier to be able to tell their friends back home that they had a Bobby Flay burger. The Carnival World Buffet is long gone, replaced by the Canteen Food Hall. Buffets haven't completely disappeared. Few strip properties still have buffets. Remember my earlier mention of Caesars, Bellagio, and Wynn as higher-end buffets? They still have them. And they have them because guests are still willing to pay very high prices for the experience, so it's worth the properties to keep them open. That $100 guest meal at Caesar's Buffet won't cut it at Luxor or even Paris. That's why most of those are closed. So what do old hands like me do when I want a buffet fix? The South Point or the Palms. For me, though, it's mostly the South Point. Best described as you get what you pay for. Good food, not great, plenty of it, and plenty of options. And the guy who makes the omelets on the weekend is a good conversationalist. Will buffets come back on a large scale? No. And yes, that is a bad thing. The Vegas experience is a series of corporate-led transactions, few which seem to offer any sense of value for customers. Think about that dad sitting in front of that mountain of shrimp shells. How many times did he come back to Vegas because he knew that even though he left several $1,000s behind after every trip, at least he got that free room and free buffets? In 2025, what motivation does he have to come back?